I did actually end up getting a job, and that's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. Obviously, I've been extremely tired physically as well. Not been really able to get on here. It's only 4 hours a day, people, but you can include half an hour getting there, half an hour getting back, and it's just finding that balance again of doing a not a full-time job, but a permanent part-time job, 5 days a week. And so I will have to go back to just putting out 2 videos per week because I've moved on to 3, sometimes 4, but always 3. It will go back to 2. I'm thinking every Tuesday and Sunday, so maybe a shorter one on Tuesday and a long video to do with my main body of work on Sundays. Just one or two things I want to point out on this video, because and this will be the last time I cover the Ukraine war indefinitely, because it's over. I'll get to that, but in the last time I made a video on this thing, I did say that I cannot stand Ukrainians. Well, I didn't really mean it like that. Yes, I can't stand the government, just like I can't stand any government, especially my own, right? I don't know what the Ukrainians are doing here. That's about what I meant, right? But why this guy's being compared to a Winston Churchill? Because it's not having anything to do with winning a war. Certainly not this war, because this war's over. They're just making up the numbers now and sending more men to their deaths that should be back in the west of Ukraine, keeping that country going, instead of just killing them off. Because, well, unless it's the fact that Winston Churchill was another warmonger, just like this prick. So apart from what I mentioned right at the beginning, this is about all I want to address in this video on this war finally, and because I'm sick to death of hearing it, and that is that Ukrainians, pushed the Russians out from 3 zones. The Russians attacked in 3 different areas, right? They did that to try and make the Americans, NATO, come to the table. Okay, that's the only reason why they came in with a force of only 190,000. They only had a small army, unlike they have these days, which is another thing that this mess has caused. It's caused Russia to arm itself, not to the levels of what they did in the 70s and 80s, right? But certainly enough to wipe out NATO in Europe. Anyway, at the top there is where Ukraine lost its first army, the army that the Americans have been building up, right, for almost a decade. At the beginning of the war, they lost 400,000 of the best men, which they've not been able to replace, and they won't be able to replace since, right, because we can't replace it and they can't. Then they lost the second army over there in Kherson. And then this area down here is where they blew the dam, all right? They didn't push anybody out of there. The Russians retreated because the Ukrainians are terrorists, like I've said. And then they've lost the third army in this supposed counter-offensive. And that's all she wrote, folks. Thank you.